Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. I'm your host, RC, joined here by my co-host Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Moved into a new place.
How's that going?
Well, considering we moved on the hottest day of the year,
Ooh,
that wasn't fun, but it's
yeah.
actually kind of nice. I actually have an office now. I'm not in the garage. So,
Oh, nice, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might have noticed my settings have changed a little bit. Probably going to be switching to lunchtime recordings instead of the morning. The wifey's got a regular-ish like 7 to 4 job now. So I'm on dad duty in the morning. Um, Anywho, yeah, I mean, I'm in basically the nursery. The baby's out sleeping in the living room right now, taking her little nappy nap.
Nice.
Um, yeah, yeah. So let's get into things. I want to start with. I mean, I've been trying to think of a name for this segment. Usually, it's just me venting and complaining about something. Other podcasts do this. Pardon my
RC's
take.
rant.
Pardon my take. If you watch it, they call it Firefest, which is a clever name. Um, it just kind of came naturally. So I don't know. People I feel get entertained by other people complaining. See all the reality TV shows in existence. We have friends of at least mine. I don't know. You probably don't know them, Jeff, but Aaron and Stacy. You remember those crazy girls that interrupted our one recording that we were doing at the Sportsplex?
Oh, kind of.
They have a podcast of their own.
Nice.
It's called I Said Goddamn, where they talk about disturbing murders. Um, Anywho, and they start their podcast with a goddamn. So anyway, but I don't want to bite on that. So I think what I want to refer to this as what are we tilting this week? That seems more appropriate, and we definitely talk about our tilts all the time. Before I get into mine, do you have anything you're tilting, Jeff, besides moving on the hottest day of the year, which I imagine was no fun?
Yeah. No real tilts other than, uh, and we'll get into this on a different podcast, but in our draft the other night, thought I was going to get Clyde in the second round. I was
It's a bit
I was
optimistic.
I was real tilted. Well, I know the people in our draft, and I don't think anyone before me would have taken him. I thought the only people that were concerning were behind me, in the sense
Mm.
of like Matt, Anthony, Sean type thing, and I didn't think you were a Clyde guy, so that one shook me a little bit.
Well, it would appear you have underestimated me. I hope next time you will estimate me. What I am tilting this week, I did get sniped on a few players in our draft, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about a few things. Obviously, my battle with the machines, which are, a big sim control device, continues. Fox Sports San Diego all of a sudden stopped working for me, so I'm having to resort to
Ooh.
other means to watch my Slam Diego Padres. Editing software for our lovely podcast, don't appear to be compatible with my laptop and or my brain. So
Dang.
I did, however, come up with a fire Photoshop for my team name or for my team logo in our league, which got zero recognition for the amount of time that I put into it, which I was very proud of and I thought was very clever. And it has our commissioner as Geppetto using our commissioner. Wait, no, our defending champion as Geppetto using our commissioner as Pinocchio, which I thought was brilliant and some of my best work. Low bar, but anyways, did not get the reaction I was hoping for.
I thought it
And
was
then,
solid. I
yeah,
said
go ahead.
no, 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 go.
And I was going to say, on top of that, another real world tilt is I'm using online grocery delivery services. Have you been using them at all, Jeff?
No, I just throw a mask on and go in the store.
See, that's what I was doing. However, I'm usually, I eat pretty fresh, and if I go to the store and I get a bunch of stuff like one trip a week, then the stuff goes bad. Um, and if I go twice a week, it just takes up too much time. So
Yeah.
what I'm doing is going to the store once a week and then supplementing it with, some of the fresh items from delivery services. And you may or may not know about this, me, Jeff, or listeners of the pod, but I am somewhat of a fresh produce czar or fresh produce connoisseur,
Okay.
an expert, a professional. I used to work as a produce. I rose through the ranks to an assistant produce manager, which I mean,
There you go.
you
That's
walk
the
around
life.
with that. You walk around with that name tag on, you get some respect. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Um, but anywho, so I am like very hypercritical of the produce that comes through my door, and it is. I mean, it's a disappointment, man. Some of the berries that I'm being sent are we get organic from my daughter, and it's just unacceptable. It's not even it's not even bad or like suboptimal like the team you drafted. It is just unacceptable. Kind of
Dang.
kind of like some others teams, which I'm not going to get into. We'll save that for tomorrow. But yeah, man. So I got wrinkly blueberries, the lettuce. Okay, so I also ordered pickup from Vaughn's, and I got one of those clamshells, those big ass clamshells, the lettuce.
Yeah.
And I get home and I look at it, and like half the lettuce is like mushy. And anywho, not
I,
juicy limes, wrinkled tomatoes. It is just
oh, that's
get
rough.
get your stuff together. Get the people that know how to pick their produce out, picking the produce out, and stop substituting my light sour cream for regular sour cream. I pick
I
light for a reason.
Oh man, I do have one other thing that shook me this week, and it happened this morning. So we were doing a little mixer trivia, right, in our group chat, and there's someone in our group known as the Simulation who really
Back to
only
back champ. The
yeah,
fraud.
the back-to-back champ. Haven't seen him in the group chat since he won.
Yeah.
Shows up this morning. Doesn't even show up to the draft. Like, isn't on the call. He's just making his picks however he's making his picks,
He's in
right?
the cloud. He's in the
Yeah,
cloud.
exactly. Shows up in the chat this morning, starts interacting. I was shook. I had no clue what to do.
Yeah.
Like,
He usually checks in around this time of the year, but
still hasn't put his name on the trophy from either year.
yeah, or collected it. It's sitting at
Right.
somebody else's house
So disrespectful.
because he could just hologram view it and network in through the cloud to look at it whenever he wants it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Oh, and then on top of that, he's projected to win again.
Well, that's ESPN.
Conveniently, the system likes his picks. So we're not conspiracy theory guys. We just connect some dots, and there are a lot of dots to connect to this guy. Let's talk some sports, some real sports, though, shall we?
All right.
Let's start with baseball. And my favorite topic of late, the Padres specifically. So they've had a few great games the last few days. So they walked off on Monday, an exciting bottom of the ninth. I guess it was a double down the right field line. I am spacing on the player's name who scored from first base, but the dude got subbed in as a pinch runner and flew around the bases in, I guess somebody tweeted that it was like an average of over 19 miles an hour, which is really impressive because I mean a full sprint for NFL players like down the field, they have those that max whatever that next gen stat is or however they brand it. Usually those guys peak out at like 20 or 21 miles an hour in a straight line, and this guy was doing 19 while doing a circle essentially. apologies on not remembering the player's name, which I should, but again, kind of newer to the team. And then they had another grand slam yesterday. Will Myers hit, I think, his third of the year.
Yeah.
In the bottom of the first, and the Padres were down 3-0 early with Clevenger on the mound. Dug himself an early hole. Arenado hit a home run in the top of the first. Then the Padres bounced right back to go up 5-3 after the first inning, and then they just proceeded to blow the team out, blow the Rockies out. I think that game finished 14-5.
Yeah.
But they have a huge homestand coming up. Well, I guess they're in the middle of it technically, but they have a series with the Dodgers coming up. And that, as you may or may not know, is the Aria Cup. Jeff, do you think there's any chance that the Padres bring the Aria Cup title to my side of the bed? You know, it's the same household. My wife's the Dodgers fan. I mean, what do you see? Do the Pods have any chance? They're like 5 games back right now.
Yeah,
winning the division.
They're 4.5 back. I mean, there's definitely a chance, right? The Padres are a good team, but I think, if this were a normal year, I think that that Dodger team would be getting some serious airtime. They're the only team in the league with over 30 wins. They're at 31, and they're 3 games ahead of the next closest team in both leagues. So, they're a real good team this year. I think if I'm the Padres, I really hope for a 2-2 split. Ideally, you go 3-1, right? Because it's a 4-game series, right, this week? Or is it only 3?
It is 3 games. So
okay, 3. So
finish
ideally
with the Rockies today, then they have 4 with the Giants, and then they start the series with the Dodgers on the 14th.
Okay, so ideally they go 3-1 against the Giants and 2-1 against the Dodgers, right? You can't split that series with the Giants. You have to at least win it 3-1 or sweep. Against the Dodgers, can't lose a game to them, right? And since there's no split, you got to win the series. You got to go 2-1. It'll be tough, but Clevenger pitched last night. I assume he's in line for the first start against the Dodgers in that series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they definitely have a chance. A lot of it just depends.
Yeah, they're tied in the season series right now. They split the first 4-game series. I mean, I guess this is it. I don't think they have another series with him. There's not that many games this season. Right. So if the Padres win this series 2-1, I guess they win the season series. But it looks like they're actually 3.5 games back at the moment. So it is going to be tough because, like you said, the Dodgers are playing so well.
Yeah.
They're playing what? I think their win rate is 0.714 or something, or their whatever that win percentage. There we go. Yeah. 714, which is very high. We got a 60-game season, but like you said, they're one of the best teams of baseball. But the Padres are right there in contention. You got to hope that they'll be able to get that 4 seed as the highest wild card seed, because the playoffs are going to be different. They haven't even announced yet that they're going to play, or have they announced the bubble locations? I know they were talking about it for a while.
And, I thought they did, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that it was finalized, but supposedly they're going to be playing at 2 locations. Southern California is what they're saying. Could be San Diego, could be LA, could be both. And then the National League would play their games in at Arlington in Texas. And I believe there was a separate third World Series site. I could be wrong on that. However, I believe everything is still being finalized. However, with the matchups and the types of teams that they'll be playing, the Padres, as a 4 seed, would be playing. Well, I don't know the actual playoff format, but I think they would be playing a division winner, so they'd probably be playing like the Braves.
Right now, it'd be the Braves or
Or
the Cubs.
yeah, the Braves or the Cubs. Who else is in the East? Because I know that division is close between the Braves and I can't think of the other team.
It's the Phillies.
The Phillies. That's right. The Phillies have been on fire the last few days, and apparently Bryce Harper is having a great season, but Tatis is stealing all the shine. All the shine that there is in the baseball world right now is on the Padres. You saw Clevenger last night in his post-game interview. He got the Slam Diego headband based on the tone and a Black Lives Matter T-shirt and a chain. And his hair, his flow was just everywhere. I mean, it seems like he's fitting right in. Everybody's joked around that he's living in OB, probably down the street from AJ or from Preller in PB. But yeah, I'm loving the team. These guys, they kind of almost, I don't know, they're like the beach bums that can rake or something. Rake and flame. Just their whole look, their whole attitude is awesome. Jeff, there's room on the bandwagon, man. If you want somebody to vouch, I've been kind of one foot in the whole time, 1 foot out. But you're welcome, man. You're welcome to come back.
I don't think I can join the bandwagon. I'll support from afar.
I appreciate your integrity and your loyalty to your Yankees.
Always.
Anywho, it was Mateo. Mateo scored from first, and that's who I thought it was, but I didn't want to whiff on the name, so I kind of wussed out there. Anywho, so that's the Padres, I guess. I bought my daughter some more onesies because I was making the joke at the start of the season that, I was gonna get her the 12-month, the 12-month onesies because in April and May when they would fit her, the Padres will be playing some meaningful games. But by the time like August and September roll around, she could probably switch to her Dodger gear because I didn't expect the Padres. Anywho, that backfired, so I had to buy some more.
Oh, man.
And wouldn't you know it, there are no Dodgers gear in stock. So how unfortunate. Some more baseball stuff to come. Once the playoffs get going, we'll be talking about all the series. Speaking of playoffs, NBA playoffs are, we have second round action. One series over. Mm-hmm. The Bucks lost to the Heat in 5 games, right? The Heat won 4-1.
Yep.
We call that a gentleman's sweep. The Heat spotted the Bucks, who was your team to make the NBA Finals on the East. What happened, Jeff? I've realized my basketball knowledge is seriously lacking, and part of being a host is knowing what you don't know, and yeah, my basketball analytics are lacking. In your opinion, what happened in this series?
Well, so the last 2 games, the Bucks split. So the Bucks were down 3-0, and then Giannis got hurt in game 3, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So they won a game without him, and then lost last night without him. So once he went out and wasn't playing, it was kind of assumed that they would lose the series at that point. But
yeah,
what's really happening is we're seeing something you see during the regular season, but it doesn't get exploited during the regular season the way it does in the playoffs, is that when a team like Milwaukee goes into a good team, right, that has a good coach that can play defense, mm-hmm. and really just like what they do is they kind of collapse on Giannis and force him to shoot jumpers kind of thing. They don't let him get to the basket as much. They just make his life as hard as possible.
They play defense, is what you're saying.
Well, they play a different style. Like, so during the
I get
regular
what you're
season, when you play a different team every night,
Yeah.
it's hard to to be very specific with your defense because you don't have time to practice it. You don't have time to,
Right.
you know what I mean? But when you're playing the same team 7 games in a row, potentially, you can really focus in on certain things. Now, we saw last year and we saw this year, the bad teams, even with not the bad teams, the teams that aren't as good, even when they have days to like practice this, it's still hard to stop Giannis, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you play a good team, especially with a really good coach like the Heat with Spoelstra, they can really focus in. And they had some players, and they just kind of beat Milwaukee. They forced other people to beat them. They didn't let Giannis get his 35 or whatever, and they forced everyone else to do it. It's kind of the same thing that the Spurs did to LeBron back in 07 in his first finals. Is they just kind of there's a very specific defense to beat those guys. It's hard to do night in, night out. And it's not hard. It's not easy to do in the playoffs, but it's easier in the playoffs when you have days in between. You can practice, and all that. That's really what happened. It's not that Giannis is bad. It's not that Milwaukee's bad, but Milwaukee is built for a specific type of play, and if they can't play that way, they struggle. And the Heat were just better than them over the last 5 games. That's it. Nothing crazy there. No, Giannis isn't the best player in the league, or he's not up there, right? Like, he's still really, really good. It's just his biggest flaw is not really being able to shoot a jump shot all that well. Obviously,
do you think if the series was played when it or should have, I guess, been scheduled or happening on the calendar, which I guess would have been May, June, in a full arena, do you think that would have had any difference, or do you think it would have just played out the same? I know it's tough to guess, but I'm just curious if you think the delay, or if one team maybe without the pressure on, if in front of the arena, like the Heat did better in that respect, or do you think it didn't really have any effect on it?
I mean, I'm sure it had some effect. Like, playing in front of your home fans is huge, right? So I'm sure there's some kind of effect. I doubt Milwaukee loses the first 2 games at home, right? They might lose one of them. I doubt they go down 0-2 if they're playing in Milwaukee, but you never know, right? Like, it's tough to speculate on that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, how do you think? So in the East, the other series is still going. Celtics Raptors. Boston is up 3-2 at the moment. It seems like the Raptors have struggled. I know didn't they go down 2-0 at the start?
Yeah.
Anywho, do you see? Do you see the Celtics wrap it up? I think they play today at 3:30, which I guess by the time this airs might have already happened. However, maybe not. Maybe we'll get a game 7. Do you think the Celtics close it out either tonight or in game 7? Do you think the Raptors might make a comeback?
I think the Celtics close it out. I think they just end things and then move on to play the Heat.
And then do you think the Heat keep it going? What do you think their chances are against either of these 2 teams?
I don't know. I probably like the Celtics over the Heat and the Heat over the Raptors in my mind. So that's kind of how I would have it.
It seems like at least on the East side, the Heat and the Celtics have been the best. They dealt with their first round playoffs pretty quick, and then got off with wins in the second round. So they're playing as good as any team left.
Yeah.
On the Western Conference, both LA teams are up 2-1. They were tied 1-1. The Lakers lost their first game before winning the next two. The Clippers and the Nuggets have gone back and forth. Clippers won game one, Nuggets won game two. Clippers came back and won game three. Seems like the Lakers have their mojo back. Do you anticipate any problems for them in these next few games to wrap up the series?
I think both teams win in either 5 or 6. It's either going to be 4-1, 4-2 for both. I don't see them really having too much trouble going forward until they play each other.
Yeah, we're going to get the series that we've been wanting to see. Battle for LA, battle for the mega market. Your San Diego Clippers of LA versus the Los Angeles mega market Lakers. Should be a good series. I'm looking forward to that. Maybe even more than the finals. But I'm hoping to be able to watch some more. I've caught a few of the games and thoroughly enjoyed them. Do you have any thoughts? I think, because the Lakers are playing the Rockets, and LeBron was just bullying Westbrook in game one, which the Lakers ended up losing. But LeBron had that massive dunk over Westbrook. Do you have anything to add about the significance to that? I mean, what's Russ's deal? Why did he go stand under the rim to just get dunked on like that? I mean, LeBron was coming with a plan, and
Russ plays hard
and on his highlight reel forever.
Yeah, I mean, Russ just made a bad decision. It happens.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'd say, and then he got like swatted later on. I'm surprised LeBron didn't like blow him up on a pick or something. That's the only thing that was missing from that kind of hat trick of shame. That
my only thought on that is Russ is far from the first. He will likely not be the last. Although LeBron is getting towards the end, he looks like he's still got a few more years at least, though. But yeah, I mean, Russ is one of many at this point, and he's probably not even the best player on that list. So
the funny thing was, I was kind of watching both the Laker game and the Padres game at that time, and I can't remember what the Padres did, but it might have been a home run or something. But the Padres did something a few seconds earlier, and then there was the LeBron dunk, and there's some neighbors in my complex that watch the Padres games on delay. Anywho, gotcha. So I went out to walk the dog like right after it happened. Then I hear him go, "Oh!" And I was like, "Was that about the Padres or about the Lakers?" And then I heard him talking about Westbrook, and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Anywho, a little behind the scenes there. So, this time next week we should have the conference finals set. We should have a few games underway. So, looking forward to that. Jeff, we kind of buried the lead. It is the second week of September. We have NFL action tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We've been building up to it for a while. Texans, Chiefs. How did they brand this? It's just Thursday Night Football, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Or is it Sunday Night Football on NBC or Sunday Night Football on Thursday? Because isn't it NBC? I don't know. They do weird shit depending on who carries the game and what games they usually carry. There's Sunday Night Football on Saturday. There's Monday Night Football on Thursday. It's doesn't matter. There's a game tomorrow. I'm really excited. I can't believe we got here this far. It's going to be weird with there being no preseason. I don't know what to expect. Do you have any expectations? Maybe, defense might be favored over offense or vice versa. What do you think?
So, I remember my football playing days when you always got to practice first. It was very similar to how baseball, and the defense usually dominates to start with. Mm-hmm. right? Like baseball, when you first start spring training, pitchers are usually ahead of hitters. Um, but I did see somebody mention the lockout season of,
Hmm.
I believe it was 2011, which is the closest thing we've had to this football wise.
Hmm.
And that was one of the biggest fantasy scoring years in football history.
Interesting.
Um, so it seemed to be very like offensive, um, to the offense's benefit.
Hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, I hope, especially starting with tomorrow night. I did a draft Monday night where I started. Can you guess my first three picks? They're all on the same team, and they all play tomorrow night.
Uh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Of course.
Kelsey,
Nope.
Hill, Tariq,
Tyreek.
and Mahomes.
Yep. One, two, three.
That is
So,
super stack.
I'm really hoping for the offensive explosion.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think I think thinking about it, I think we're going to see a lot of points this year. That's where the NFL's trending anyway.
Hmm.
So we're going to see a lot of fantasy scoring, and yeah, I think it'll be an exciting year.
Defense is for losers and suckers. You know, like our. Well, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna disparage any. You know. Um, we'll just say that's a quote from a very high ranking official.
Person.
Yeah, person. Well, yeah, I guess he's a person. Um, Anywho, so I don't know if there's gonna be an edge defense, offense, low scoring, high scoring. I think it's gonna depend on the individual players. I'm interested to see how the rookies do if they struggle more than normal.
Yeah.
However, I've kind of always been of the opinion that, you know, yes, there is something to learn with a playbook each year, and getting the, I guess, the feel of contact going on. I just feel like so many of these guys have done this for so long, coming up through college, high school, that they're pretty much used to it. And I don't know, they're all, it's all just going to be relative to on an individual basis.
Yeah.
I think the vets, or just the players in general, who are disciplined, who are in the weight rooms, who are conditioned and all that, are going to do well. And the ones that maybe rely on that practice and somebody pushing them may not do as well, because there's just less of that
Yeah.
this
I do
this
think
year.
I do think that my last real thought on it, and this is, I started thinking about this fantasy wise. I think there will be a decent amount more injuries this year than there
Yeah.
have been in the few previous years, just due to less hitting, less like just getting used to it. I could see not necessarily bad injuries, but more guys missing one or two games here or there,
Mhm.
due to certain things happening. I hope not. I hope everyone stays healthy all year long, but I could see that happening where there's just because there's been, you know, like we said, there's no preseason this year. Even in 2011, we had a preseason, right? Even though there was a lockout.
Yeah.
So, guys haven't, I coaches do their best and teams do their best to go full speed in practice, but like it's never the same as when you're in an actual game. So, I could just see a few things happening this year, and I hope they don't. But that's kind of my last thought on it.
I heard an expert, a daily fantasy player, recommend or suggest that coaches are going to be using more of a rotation
Yeah,
in these first few weeks at least. So a lot of those committee backfields um, you know, may have more of that second and third back getting rotated in. So
yeah,
just something to keep in mind as you are maybe submitting your lineups, if you're into daily fantasy. I do have to say now that we are rolling into season log, if you were tired of hearing about Underdog, you may get tired of hearing about DraftKings, because that is, I mean, that is my jam as far as daily fantasy goes. So maybe one of these weeks we can go through a lineup. Have you put any lineups together yet, Jeff?
No, I've kind of stayed away from that kind of stuff.
I have
Haven't
four
worried too much about it.
together. I have four together. I don't know if I'm gonna, I'll probably submit them in some, at least in the free contest. It makes sense to, why not play some free contests? I usually play. There's a $5 tournament I play every week. It's by another fantasy football podcast. It's kind of their own competition. I finished third overall 1 week 2 or 3 years ago. So I got a couple $100 from that, but I like the payout. I guess there's no rake, but it's kind of a smaller tournament. I think it's limited to between 500 to 1,000 people, depending on the interest in that given week. Usually at the start of the season, they'll have close to 1,000. Then towards the end of the season, for whatever reason, interest kind of tapers. So
yeah,
but it usually fills up. And I don't know, it's fun, low cost of entry, and yeah, it lets you get exposure to players that maybe you don't own on your season long teams. So we're going to do a wrap up of our drafts tomorrow. So you'll see that, post to the channel tomorrow. It'll probably be a little bit specific to us. So you may or not glean too much from it, but we'll talk through some of the picks and have our thoughts on some of the players as a result. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. I'm excited to go through our draft, Jeff. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah.
One of the things I am most excited about from this year or from this week in sports that, I buried because I know not everybody's as interested in it as we are. But Jeff, we had a hell of a race of an Italian Grand Prix on Sunday in Formula One. This is the part where I say, Jeff, did you watch this race?
No, I was not awake for this race.
Did you watch the recording?
I did.
There we go.
So
I'll take it. I mean, usually I don't watch them live either.
Yeah.
Or I'll watch like the start and then Hamilton's off in the lead and pacing the field. So I usually go exercise, try to catch the end, or I'll just watch it later on. Let me just recap what happened. So first 20 laps of the race, pretty standard. Hamilton building a steady lead. On lap 20, Kevin Magnussen in his Haas craps out, basically. I don't know what the exact problem was. I suspect engine failure, some sort of mechanical issue. Stops on track in somewhat of a dangerous area. So they put out a safety car. So, right before the safety car, Pierre Gasly in an Alpha Tauri, which is the Red Bull Junior team, pits. He gets the free stop. And then the pits are closed. So he times it perfectly. He goes in and changes, and then Lewis comes in shortly after, and then all the other cars stay out. And I was watching the race. I was like, what the heck is going on? The announcers were trying to figure out like why the other cars didn't pit. It turned out the pit lane was closed. So Lewis pit his car while the pit lane was closed, which is a big no-no. So he got a 10-second stop-and-go penalty eventually. Shortly after the race resumed, there was an accident. Charles Leclerc had a nasty crash. Went into the barrier. He was okay, but did damage to the barrier, and they had to red flag the race, which basically means all the cars have to go sit in the pit lane while they do the repairs, and then they
Right.
go and do a full restart, which is pretty rare. So if you're new to F1, yeah, they do a full restart where they form on the grid and essentially restart the race, but with fewer laps to go. And while it was in while we were under the red flag, Lewis Hamilton channeled his inner Karen, hopped on his Razor scooter, and went to race control to complain about his penalty. Nothing came of it, but it's always good to see that these drivers going up to race control. Some of the more memorable races that has happened, fights in the garage and such. So anyway, the race resumed. Hamilton was still in the lead, hadn't served his penalty. Gasly slotted into second. I believe he started in like fourth or third on the restart. Then Hamilton came in to serve his penalty. He dropped down all the way to the back of the pack. And there was half the race left. Carlos Sainz moved up to second. He was chasing Gasly, got within a second on the last lap. Looked like he might have had a look down the inside of him on the final lap, but he just couldn't do it. So Gasly brought it home. The podium was Gasly, Carlos Sainz in McLaren, and Lance Stroll in the Racing Point Mercedes, the pink Mercedes, basically.
Yeah.
I think Bottas finished like sixth. Both
Yeah.
Ferraris,
Bottas had a rough race.
DNF'd. But it was just pandemonium. That team is a lower team. They were basically the worst team in Formula One before being bought out in the mid 2000s by Red Bull. And now they have 2 race wins at the same track in the same amount of time that Ferrari has had 2 race wins at that track, which is just depressing.
Right.
However, they are an Italian team, so the Italian national anthem was played at the podium in Monza, and usually 100,000 fans decked in Ferrari red rush the track after the race. It's one of the best sights in all of sports, if you ask me.
Right.
Kind of sad with no fans there, but it was just a hell of a race. I recommend watching it if you can. Jeff, what's your thoughts on that? I know I recapped a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, you did it very well. When you look at the like race results, you see where people finished and like how far back they were. I believe the 10-second penalty, like Lewis finished like 8 seconds back or something in seventh. So like the 10-second penalty, like you can correlate that it probably cost him the race.
Yeah.
And when you look at Formula One on their YouTube channel, posted like a highlights thing the other day or a recap thing that went over, and it actually showed Lewis's communication with his team as that was happening, and they tell him to box or they tell him to pit, right?
Yeah.
And then he's coming, and as he gets to pit lane, he makes the turn to go down, and right after he makes the turn, they tell him, stay out. And he's kind of like super confused as he's going down he's like, a quarter of the way down pit lane or whatever, like just entered.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, what did you guys say? Like, so,
Team cost him the race.
Pretty much. So it just seemed like, to be honest, it seemed like one of those, he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, in the sense of like, if he's, half a second further back on the track, he probably doesn't pit, right? Because they tell him he's able to stay out, or if he's further along and he's not near the pit lane yet, or he's past pit lane, then there's obviously no option to pit. So one of those things, it happens. He served his 10-second penalty. He finishes 7th. I thought it was great for Gasly. He gets the win. And it was kind of nice to see some other teams up at the top. Um, but I
I
did think
agree.
there was a Reddit post the other day about people talk about doing a reverse grid all the
Mm-hmm.
time in some fashion. And someone on the Reddit post said over the last like 20 laps, like no one in the top six got passed or anything like that.
Hmm.
And there was like, and they were talking about like no, there was no Red Bull up there, there was no Mercedes up there or anything like that. They're like, so it probably doesn't matter whether however we do the grid, like the top guys are going to be the top guys. Like if you're in first, second, or third, it's just such an advantage to be up there that you're probably not getting passed and stuff like that.
It would depend on how they did the reverse grid because I was going to bring this up. They're talking about using that for qualifying,
Yeah.
basically qualifying races on Saturday instead of the current format, which does seem to be broken because everybody's just looking for track space and it becomes this huge traffic jam that's annoying to watch.
Yeah.
If they do it reverse grid order from the current championship standings, you wouldn't have like the Alpha Tories there up in the front. You would have like the Williams and the
Right.
Alfa Romeos, which are for sure going to get passed.
Right.
So um, I would say that it probably it. I don't know what it would look like, but I think there would for sure be some passing, and I've just seen this with Formula One before, where there's a race like this, and the example that comes into my mind is they've had races in the past where the tires just aren't set up right for a track due to weather conditions,
Yeah.
or they'll change the pavement, and for whatever reason they'll have the wrong compounds there, and the tires will just be falling apart. And due to those mistakes, it usually ends up to be a good race. And
Yeah.
so there was a few years ago where basically Formula One instructed the Pirelli, the tire makers, hey, design tires that start to fall apart or start to seriously degrade in quality after a certain number of laps because that makes the races exciting. So
Yeah.
I just kind of see that same thing happening. I don't know if the reverse grid solution should be deployed for all of next season or any of the remaining season, but I would like to see it done on some weekends. And
Yeah.
due to the coronavirus, I in this season just being bizarre, I say go for it. Just test it out. They've made changes to qualifying formats in the season. There was a few years ago where I can't even remember what the deal was. Oh, it was in they one season, instead of doing like the three stage knockouts,
Yeah.
it was like a 50-minute or an hour long single session, and then if you were at the bottom, there was like every 5 minutes drivers were getting eliminated, so they were just out there
Oh,
lapping,
gotcha.
and it was
Yeah.
just it was just like the teams didn't even know what was going on. They're like, wait, we're eliminated. Like, I was just starting my lap and it was just a disaster.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that, and that was the plan for the remainder of the season. So
Right.
anyway, I hope they do something. Pierre Gasly was super emotional after the race. He was on the podium by himself for a while. He's the first French driver to win a race since 1996. Um, McLaren finishing second. I don't think they had a second place since like the early 2010s or something like
Yeah.
2011. So really, really exciting, really unique race. We hyped the wrong race. However, I hope if anybody's interested that they give this one a watch. We have the another Italian Grand Prix. It's being billed as the Tuscan Grand Prix
Yeah.
at Mugello, which is the Ferrari test track.
Gotcha.
So say a prayer for our Scarlet Red team out there because they they need some positivity. Leclerc was running fourth in this race at one time. So not all hope is lost, but we'll have to see how it goes. That's it. That's all the topics for this show. Unless you have something to add, Jeff.
That's all I got.
Sweet.
See you
Got
tomorrow.
it in under the wire on my lunch hour. Productive, just enough time to get some food ready and scrounge it down before I got to clock back in. We will be back tomorrow. That's the plan. We're going to be talking more fantasy football stuff. We're going to go over our draft. The league that the show is named after, in tribute to all of our wonderful friends that we play with, and it should be a good one. So get ready. Football is starting.
Sounds good.
Jeff, it's PF Chang's time, man.
Let's go get it.
I'll catch you tomorrow.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.